The rain hammered against the window like it was trying to break in, mirroring the storm raging inside me as I watched Malcolm's silhouette against the lightning-streaked Chicago skyline. "I can't do this anymore," he whispered, his voice cracking like thunder, the words slicing deeper than any knife. In that instant, our worlds shattered. 8 months of stolen glances, late-night confessions, and that one night we'd crossed the line we'd sworn never to touch, all crumbling under the weight of his regret. I froze, my heart pounding louder than the downpour outside our cramped Lakeview apartment. Malcolm, my straight-as-an-arrow best friend and roommate, the guy who'd crashed into my life 2 years ago with his easy grin and endless supply of bad dad jokes, stood there unraveling. His broad shoulders slumped under the damp hoodie that still smelled like the dive bar we'd fled from, where he downed whiskey shots like they could drown the truth bubbling up between us. We'd been celebrating his promotion at that marketing firm downtown. High fives turning into lingering hugs, the kind that lingered too long for just friends. But now, back home, with the door barely shut, he couldn't look me in the eye. "Elliot," he said, finally turning, his hazel eyes stormy and red-rimmed. "That night, it was a mistake. The booze, the fight with Sarah, it messed with my head. I'm not like you." The words landed like a punch to the gut. "Like you." As if loving him made me some kind of anomaly, a glitch in his perfectly straight narrative. I wanted to scream that it wasn't just some drunken fumble, that the way he'd held me after, whispering my name like a prayer, had rewritten every rule we'd ever set. But all I managed was a choked, "You kissed me first." He flinched, running a hand through his wet curls, water dripping onto the scuffed hardwood floor. Our place was a testament to broke 20-somethings scraping by in the Windy City. Mismatched furniture from thrift shops on Clark Street, posters of Cubs games and indie bands peeling at the edges, and that ancient coffee table scarred from too many spilled beers during White Sox watches. We'd moved in together right after college, me, the theater kid from the suburbs with dreams of off-Broadway glory, and him, the all-American jock turned ad exec, fresh off a knee-blowing football scholarship that never panned out. Rent was cheap, laughs were free, and for a while that was enough. But 8 months ago, everything shifted. It started innocently. Movie nights where his arm would brush mine during the tense parts of some Nolan flick, his laugh vibrating through me like bass from a club on Rush Street. Then the confessions, him venting about his on-again, off-again girlfriend Sarah, how she never got him, how he felt like he was performing a role he didn't audition for. I'd nod, heart-twisting, because I knew that script all too well. Coming out in high school in conservative Naperville hadn't been rainbows. It had been lockers slammed in my face, whispers like venom. But Malcolm? He was my safe harbor, the guy who high-fived me at my first Pride parade, declaring, "You're the bravest dude I know, El." That night of the mistake came after one of their blowouts. Sarah had accused him of flirting with her sorority sister at a Wrigleyville bar crawl. Unfair, but it hit his insecurities like a linebacker. He stumbled home at 2 a.m., reeking of craft IPAs from Half Acre, collapsing onto the couch where I was nursing a script rewrite. "She's it for me, right?" He'd slurred, eyes searching mine for absolution. I shrugged, playing it cool. "If you say so." Then, in a blur of vulnerability, he grabbed my hand, pulled me close. His lips crashed into mine. Not tentative, not experimental, but hungry, like he'd been starving for it. We tumbled to my room, clothes shedding like old skin, bodies fitting in ways that felt predestined. No labels, no regrets in the dark. Just us, raw and real. His breath hot against my neck as he murmured, "Don't hate me for this." Morning brought the hangover haze, but not the awkwardness I'd braced for. He made eggs, burnt as usual, and cracked jokes about my bedhead. "Best sleep I've had in months," he said with a wink that sent sparks down my spine. For weeks after, it was electric. Stolen touches in the kitchen, his foot hooking mine under the breakfast bar, texts during his commutes on the L train that read like love letters disguised as memes. He didn't say the words, but his actions screamed them. We'd hike the 606 trail on Sundays, his hand brushing my back as we navigated the crowds, and I'd catch him staring at the lake from Montrose Beach, lost in thought, only to pull me into a bear hug that lasted too long. Sarah faded into the background. Texts unanswered, dates canceled with flimsy excuses. I told myself it was real, that the straight boy who'd once sworn off that gay stuff had found his way to me. But doubt crept in like fog off Lake Michigan. One night, after a show I'd directed at a tiny Steppenwolf black box theater, Angels in America, fittingly, he showed up with roses, beaming like I'd cured cancer. "Proud of you, man," he said, kissing my cheek in the green room, lingering just enough to make the castmates whistle. We walked home through Boys Town, neon signs from Sidetrack buzzing overhead, and for the first time, he held my hand openly, fingers interlaced under the streetlights. That should have been the turning point. Instead, it was the spark for the blaze. 2 days later, Sarah cornered him at work. A mutual friend's tip-off about his new roommate vibe. She showed up at our door that evening, eyes blazing, demanding answers. I hid in my room, script in hand but unread, eavesdropping on the muffled shouts. "Who's he, Mel?" "Some side piece." Her voice was shrill, laced with betrayal. He swore it was nothing, that I was just a friend. The word twisting like a knife in my chest. She stormed out, but not before hurling, "You're throwing us away for him? What, you turning queer now?" The fallout was brutal. Malcolm withdrew, burying himself in overtime at the agency, coming home late with takeout containers and forced smiles. Our movie nights turned to silences, his touches vanishing like smoke. I catch him scrolling through old photos of her on his phone, jaw set in that stubborn line. "We good?" I'd ask, voice casual, but he'd nod too quickly, eyes avoiding mine. The tension built like a summer squall, electric, inevitable. Then came the promotion party, the one that led us here, to this rain-lashed confession. "I love you, Mal," I blurted now, the words I'd bottled for months spilling out. He recoiled, backing toward the door. "Don't, please, it's not me." I panicked that night. Sarah's giving me another shot, and I have to try. Betrayal hit like a rogue wave, cold and suffocating. Another shot? After the lies, the ghosting? My mind reeled to the afternoon I'd walked in early from rehearsal, finding them on our couch, her legs draped over his lap, his hand in her hair, laughing like nothing had changed. I'd fled to the corner store for smokes I didn't smoke, heart in freefall. "You lied to me," I whispered, voice breaking. "You said it meant something." He looked wrecked, torn between the man he'd glimpsed in my arms and the life he'd scripted for himself. "It did. It did. But I'm scared. My folks, the guys from college, they'd never." He trailed off, the weight of small-town Indiana expectations crushing him. I wanted to shake him, to scream that love wasn't a phase, that we'd built something real amid the chaos of auditions and ad pitches. But instead, I sank onto the couch, the same one that had witnessed our unraveling. The rain eased to a drizzle, mirroring my numb resolve. "Go, then," I said, not looking up. "Fix your straight fairy tale." He hesitated, hand on the knob, then whispered, "I'm sorry," before slipping out into the night. The door clicked shut, leaving me in the echo of what-ifs. How had we gone from roommates trading mixtapes to this chasm? I curled up, the city humming indifferently outside, wondering if heartbreak in the second city came with a chaser of hope. Days blurred into a gray haze. I threw myself into rehearsals for my next gig, a workshop production of Rent at a Rogers Park community theater. Ironic fuel for the fire in my veins. Lines about no day but today mocked me from the page, but they grounded me, too. Malcolm's stuff lingered like ghosts. His Cubs hat on the hook, sneakers by the door, a half-read copy of The Great Gatsby on the table. Irony not lost, the straight world crashing into queer longing. He texted once, "Can we talk?" I deleted it, then regretted it, the pull of him a magnetic ache. Work became my anchor. The theater crowd, diverse, loud, unapologetically fabulous, wrapped me in their orbit. There was Javier, the lighting tech with a flirtatious wink and stories of his abuela's tamales. Lena, the stage manager who'd lost her brother to AIDS in the 90s and now mentored every wide-eyed queer kid who walked through the doors. "Honey," she said one night over post-rehearsal pierogies at a Polish joint on Milwaukee Avenue, "love's not a straight line. It's a goddamn improv scene. Messy, brilliant, full of plot twists." Her words stuck, a humanistic lifeline in the storm. But Malcolm haunted the edges. I'd spot someone with his build on the L, heart leaping before crashing. At a cast party in Andersonville, nursing a gin and tonic amid drag queens lip-syncing Gaga, I broke down in the bathroom, ugly sobbing into paper towels. He chose her. I gasped to my reflection, the mirror fogged from the steam of too many regrets. Why him? Why the guy who'd fist-bumped my coming-out story but couldn't claim his own? 2 weeks in, he showed up at the theater. Backstage, amid the chaos of prop carts and costume racks, he looked smaller, shadows under his eyes like bruises. "Elle, please." His voice was raw, stripped of the bravado. The cast eyed him curiously, a straight interloper in their domain. But I pulled him into the alley, the air thick with dumpster smells and distant traffic. "I ended it with Sarah," he said, words tumbling out. "For good. Seeing you up there last week, owning that stage. It hit me. I'm the one who's been acting, pretending I'm something I'm not because it's easier." Rain started again, light and persistent, soaking through our jackets. He stepped closer, hand trembling as he cupped my face. "That night wasn't a mistake. It was the first honest thing I've done." My resolve cracked, tears mixing with the drops on my cheeks. "You broke me." Mal walking away like I was disposable. He nodded, pulling me into his chest, his heartbeat a frantic drum against mine. "I know, and I'll spend every day fixing it if you'll let me." In that alley, under the flicker of a sodium lamp, we kissed. Not the frantic passion of before, but something deeper, laced with forgiveness and fear. Tasted like second chances, salty and sweet. But trust doesn't rebuild overnight. We tiptoed back to normalcy. Awkward dinners of deep dish from Lou Malnati's. Walks along the lake where he'd squeeze my hand and not let go. He started therapy, some queer-affirming counselor in Wicker Park, unpacking the baggage of a dad who equated masculinity with repression. "It's terrifying," he'd admit over late-night cocoa, "but worth it. For us." I opened up too, about the ex who'd ghosted me after my big AIDS play debut, leaving me questioning if love was just another audition. The real test came at his family Thanksgiving in Indiana. Cornfields stretched like golden waves under a crisp November sky, the air smelling of wood smoke and turkey. His parents, warm, church-going folks with a faded barn quilt on the fridge, eyed me curiously when he introduced me as my partner, Elliot. The word hung electric, a gauntlet thrown. His mom hugged me tight, whispering, "We just want him happy," while his dad clapped my shoulder with a gruff, "Heard you're in theater. That's something to—" But his brother, fresh from the Marines, pulled him aside, voice low and heated. "This a phase, bro? Mom's freaking." Malcolm stood firm, voice steady for the first time. "No phase. This is me." We left early, driving back to Chicago in silence broken only by the hum of I-90. In our apartment, he broke down, fears spilling like the wine we'd smuggled from dinner. "What if I lose them?" I held him, tracing patterns on his back. "You didn't. And even if you did, you've got me. We've got this city, this life." That night, we talked till dawn. Dreams of a cabin up in Door County, adopting a mutt from the Paws shelter, maybe even a wedding on the beach at sunrise. Winter gripped the city like a vice, snow blanketing the streets in hush. Our love deepened in the quiet. Him surprising me with tickets to a Rivendell production. Me cooking his mom's apple pie recipe from memory. But shadows lingered. One February night, after a brutal blizzard shut down the L, we hunkered in with board games and bourbon. Midway through Monopoly, him bankrupt and laughing, he grew serious. "Elliot, that betrayal. I see it in your eyes sometimes. The doubt." I nodded, vulnerability raw. "It hurts, knowing you could walk again." He knelt then, not in some rom-com flourish, but real, knees on the rug worn from our pacing. From his pocket, a simple silver band, nothing flashy, just etched with "No day but today." A nod to my rent obsession. "Marry me? Not tomorrow, but when you're ready. I want forever, L. With you." Tears blurred my vision as I pulled him up, our yes lost in a kiss that sealed promises. It wasn't perfect. Love never is, especially when it defies the scripts society hands us. There were arguments over his long hours, my jealousy of lingering straight guy buddies, nights when old wounds ached. But we fought fair with therapists and takeout apologies, building something humanistic. Flawed, fierce, profoundly ours. Spring thawed the ice, mirroring our bloom. We adopted Rufus, a scruffy terrier mix who chewed Malcolm's sneakers, but slept between us like a furry chaperone. My play got picked up for a Fringe Fest run, his campaign won a Clio. On a balmy June evening, atop that same rooftop where it all nearly ended, we exchanged vows under a canopy of stars, Javier officiating with dramatic flair, Lena toasting with Prosecco. The city sprawled below, alive with possibility, a testament that even in the grind of American dreams deferred, love could rewrite the ending. Looking back, from that rain-soaked unraveling to this rooftop redemption, I see the truth. Betrayal isn't the end, but the forge. Tempers you, if you're brave enough to face the heat. Malcolm's hand in mine now, warm and sure, reminds me, we're not just survivors of a straight boy's awakening. We're architects of our own queer epic, one heartbeat, one hook of a pinky, at a time. And in the heart of the Midwest's whirlwind, that's the most American story of all.